Why, hello there.
There you go. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm so sorry to be fashionably late.
It's all good. We here now. We got it popping. We good.
I appreciate it. That's what you got to love about technology. You got to keep up with the changes, right?
Yeah, you got to roll with the punches. That's right.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our IG 97.1 QMG family, man. You look like you kind of having fun there in the background where you are.
I'm good. I'm all right. I'm out here by the water having a good time, soaking up some sun. So I'm
I
okay.
see.
What's
Absolutely. So you're doing good. You're keeping safe, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, this is really such a treat for all of us because you have a lot of Ralph Tresvant fans, not to mention New Edition. And I just want to first of all say that do you realize that you're in a very elite group of individuals? Starts with a L, ends with a D, and that word that comes to mind is legend, Mr. Tresvant.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, because you've been doing this a minute. Did you think you would still be doing this now?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I always hope so. I always watched careers that were. I followed the careers of the people who've been doing it for a long time. The Stevie Wonders and
Right.
Frankie Beverly's, Isley Brothers, Frankie Beverly, Amazing. These guys that have been just they made it a lifestyle out of it, a career out of it. So I always hope that we could do the same thing. And here we are, almost 20 years.
Absolutely. Well, that's definitely a great group to be
Yeah.
put in. And especially the fact that you're a living legend. There's so much to your career, especially as in just a few minutes I want to get to this incredible new single that you have out called All Mine. But first, let's take it back from the beginning. Speaking of being in this business for a minute, I think, Ralph, you had a start that I think for a lot of us, I reminisce back to the time when a lot of us were in high schools and
Mhm,
we were in those talent competitions.
mhm.
And you did the same thing, taking it back. You got together with a few guys that a lot of us have come to know, such as Bobby Brown,
Mhm.
Ricky Bell, and Michael Bivins. And you did this growing up in the Roxbury section of Boston.
Yes.
Take us back to that time when you performed in the local talent show. What was going through your mind at that time before you guys took to the stage? Can you take us that far back?
Honestly, yeah, I can. But I remember the feeling of, all of it was still fun. All of it was just something else to do. You're roaming around the projects after school and all this stuff and
Yeah,
getting into mischievous things and all of that. So being able to go down to we used to rehearse at the Salvation Army Boys Club. And we
wow.
would go in there and we would perform all of these records that were hits. We would do routines to them. Brooke Payne and
Yeah.
Travis Gresham at the time was our manager, and Brooke Payne at the time was our choreographer. And we would put these routines to all the latest hits and stuff like that, and we would go through the different circuits. And I
Yeah.
just remember feeling the energy from the crowd screaming, the little girls screaming. In some instances, it was grown people that would be in some of their spots, and they
Right.
would, God, look at these little babies, they so cute.
Exactly.
I remember the energy of just feeling, wow, I can get used to this. This is
Yeah.
nice. We're really doing it. People reacting to it the way that we see people react to our favorite artists. When we
Right.
watch them do their thing, and then we're getting that same reaction while we're doing our records. At that time, it wasn't our records, just doing their records or the hit records that
Hmm.
were, and just feeling like we could really make this happen, man, and starting to feel that energy like this is something that if we stick to it, it may actually work. But the real energy was the girls screaming. I remember we first did our first show, and it was at Roscoe's Lounge,
Wow.
and we just saw that they was doing a talent show there, and we decided to enter. It was four of us at the time. Ronnie hadn't been in; he wasn't in the group yet. It was just
Okay.
myself, Ricky Bell, Michael Bivins, and Bobby Brown.
Right.
So the four of us went out and found. Said, "What do you have in your house? What do what kind of? We want to dress similar." So he said, "You got any brown pants?" Well, I got some brown. You got black pants? We had that match. So everybody had a pair of brown pants. Everybody had a white button up of some sort, whether it was long sleeve or short sleeve. But we
Right.
didn't have any ties, so we had went to this little place called Robel's, and we stole some ties. Some brown bow ties to match our outfits. We jumped up there on the stage and did a song called "Holding On" by LTD.
Yes.
We came in first place. We won the contest, and
Wow.
at the time, her name was Peanut. That's what her name is, Dorothy. We called her Peanut. She was known as Peanut around the way. She was our manager. We had her that she was going to be our manager at the time and helping us, organize everything. And we found out that the prize was only $15. So
Wow.
right after $15, yeah, that was our first winnings. Our first earnings as New Edition was $15 from Roscoe's Lounge. As soon as we got there, the manager's like, "That's not enough to go." It's not enough to.
Exactly, right?
Now that was my son calling me. Car, I got to call him right back. I'll call you right back, son. We won $15 and said we ain't enough to go around, so we fired our manager right there on the spot and kept it moving.
Exactly.
That was my first thing.
Wow. And as they say, Ralph, the rest is history. But your memory is just impeccable. I mean, the way you shared that, it was as if it just happened yesterday. And so you guys are so patient and you're so welcome. Hey there. How about now?
You're back. Yes.
Okay, we back. But what I was saying with that incredible story, when you were auditioning at that talent show, you brought back a memory, I think, for a lot of us when we used to see groups like New Edition, and I even think back further to like the Four Tops and the Temptations. That was the thing was, a lot of performers dressed alike, but it was just the style and the trend at the time. You cats were clean. I have to say it. And you still are, even to this day. But was that something that was just like a part of, I guess, the repertoire? Was that something that, that New Edition collectively decided that, hey, when we go on stage, we're going to be uniform in every way, from our singing to our dancing to the way we dress?
Absolutely. We were looking up to, like you said, groups like the Four Tops, Temptations, Blue Magic, Stylistics, groups that had that kind of a vibe to them, or
Right.
that was part of what they did as a group. We just looked at that as that was a part of that made it all clean. That's what made it showy. That made it where something
Exactly.
that coming out of your own element and wearing the clothes that we normally wore, and you was doing something bigger than that or more supposedly special than that at the time. So for us, that was the major part of it. Always staying clean, and we understood the action that you get from the girls when you dress
right.
When you sharp, that's going to be a big part of
Absolutely.
the ooh factor about it all. So we had that. Absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful, because that reminds me of a time when we think about the early era, I think about Motown. And if I remember correctly, that was something that Berry Gordy always emphasized with his artists, was not only looking their best, but even when it came to the interviews, there was a certain way that you would respond to a certain question. And I love the fact that he always kept the artist, like I said, classy. Everything was just top notch. You got the best. And that's definitely what I remember about you and New Edition. That was what we got when we saw you on Soul Train with Don Cornelius, or you were on American Bandstand with Dick Clark. All those shows that we grew up watching. You were setting such a great example, I think, for future artists, even artists today. And it just amazes me because this generation, when they listen to music, a good part of it is sampled. And for them, that's like new to them. And I get so tickled because I'm like, no, that's been done before. How does that make you feel as an artist? Do you look at that as sort of being paid tribute to paving the way when you have artists, and it's regardless of the genre, whether it's R&B or hip hop, and they sample a little bit of New Edition? How does that make you feel when you hear your hits like that?
I'm a fan of hip hop. I'm a fan of all kinds of musical genres.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, but I think it's creative. I think that they're using where they're using tools and things that are available to them and creating these new versions of these songs and putting new drum loops or put new string or musical patterns on top of it, the vocals, how they come across it and flow on it. I think it's all creative. I just love what the new generation did with that. I'm a sample. I remember buying a sample when they first came out.
Right.
And I was doing the same thing as a producer and person that wanted to try to be on that side of making music.
Yeah.
Um, it became a big part of what I do, whether I'm sampling my own drum sounds and kits or I'm taking something from the past and trying to find a way to make it new again. I just think that that's when somebody can find your record and hear something special in it, it is a compliment to what you did, to the original production. You know, it's a compliment to them, their person heard something special in that record and wanted to see what they could do on top of that record. And sampling, you know, at the time, it allowed people to make music sound bigger
Yeah.
than it would have with the money that they had to produce with. You know, a lot of times
Right.
back then, when samplers were first coming out, it cost an arm and a leg to book studio time and go in and try to record something from scratch. And to be
Right.
able to something that's already kind of there, and you just have to add a little bit more to it, do your own little creative twist to it. I think that's where, you know, some of the greatest producers came on the scene through being able to use that as a method of production. So I love it. I really enjoy it.
Fantastic. And you really are spot on to when we talk about how much music has changed,
Hmm.
particularly as you have been in the business. What's the one thing perhaps that stands out when you see how much the genre, whether it is R&B or hip hop, what about it over the years has changed, good, bad, or otherwise?
I think most of it's been good. You know,
Yeah.
I think that what most of it has been good. It's just an upgrade. The new. It's like when we first started listening to Roger Troutman and Zapp and him
Yeah.
and Fox and all this stuff. My parents and then my mother, she was different. My mother loved all that stuff too. But most of
Right.
the older people was like, well, that ain't real music though. The real music is that out. Smokey Robinson. I was like, you don't like this? Are you kidding me? You can damn, you know how you move to this, huh? This that it. But when I think about how real vocalists, people that
Yeah.
can really do how you when you don't have to because you don't have to learn to be that great or that good at it because
Hmm.
there's tools now that can adjust it and fix, you know, the imperfections about certain voices and
Right,
certain
right.
pitches.
Hmm.
I think that that's taken away from people really learning the craft,
Yeah,
learning how to sing, becoming really good at it where you can sing anytime, anywhere, and sound just like the records and stuff like that.
exactly.
Go live. I think that live performancing, live performances nowadays, if you've been produced via auto tunes or Melodyne or something like that, it's
Yeah,
not going to sound like you can really duplicate that as well live. And it's the same thing with music. The instrument, you used to have to go and learn how to be a bass player. You had to learn the bass, learn the drums, learn the keyboard,
exactly.
piano, in order to, you know, to lay down some tracks, to lay down some music. And nowadays it's in the computer. You can find bass licks, drum samples, and,
Hmm.
and all kinds of stuff where you're just layering stuff that's already been pre-done
Right.
and turn it into your own little thing. Nonetheless, it's being creative. You still got to be creative and know how to use these things, but it took away from people wanting to learn how to play those and learn those instruments themselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
People that can't actually play the drums but could produce a song that sounds like they did, you know? It's
You,
kind of like
you you make such an excellent point, Ralph, because that makes me think about when we listen to groups such as New Edition, such as
Mhm.
you as Ralph Tresvant, all of those R&B groups, the fabulous ones that you named. That was the one thing we went to a live show. We got to
Mhm.
see live instrumentation. There was, like you said, no autotunes. There was no, things done computerized, so to speak, other than the innovation when Zapp and Roger Troutman took the
Mhm.
stage.
Yeah.
And you saw Roger on that vocoder, and it just blew your mind. Like, how is that? How's he producing that sound? How's it coming out of his voice? But you come from a genre and in a generation of music that inspired a lot of us to want to get into being musicians, wanting to learn how to better our craft if we knew that was something that we were going to do professionally like yourself. So thank you for taking us back to that time, because sadly, I think about nowadays, there may be so much that this generation may be missing out on when we think about, especially when the schools have to make those so-called budget cuts. And what's usually at the top of the chopping block? It's music and it's the arts. So the kids are really losing out on the opportunity that you had growing up to have a firsthand feel of playing an instrument, because your voice is just that too. And you worked with people that helped you to improve and to master that voice over the years.
That's right. That's right. You know, you really had to go and practice. You really had
Exactly.
to figure out how to stay on pitch, how to get your air, and do it repeatedly until you can have enough lung power to keep a note going, and all these different, techniques that it takes to actually sing. It's the same thing with all of the music and fine arts. But I knew it was going somewhere. It was heading there when I started seeing them taking pencils and erasers out of schools. I said, okay,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
somewhere
Matter of time.
yeah, we're not gonna make it. But I miss that.
Yeah, me too.
My kids were in schools where they still had some of these programs. Not
Hmm.
to the extent that we had them, but that was a part of it for me. The music and fine arts and sports and the different things like that, the glee clubs, and all these things
Absolutely.
were important to me in terms of what school I wanted to put my kids in. Did they offer these type of things? And that made it. When I knew they offered those, that was a big part of the decision when what school I was going to put my kids in.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Ralph, when we think about too, not just as a fifth of New Edition, because we could talk about days about your solo career and the success that you've had with that. Your self-titled debut album back in 1990. Doesn't that seem so long ago when we say?
I feel ancient like that when you
Yeah, but
mention
it's a good ancient, because it
it.
sold over 2 million copies. It spawned singles like Stone Cold Gentleman. And of course, a lot of us, the soundtrack to, I think, a lot of the lives of us who listened to you was Sensitivity.
Yes,
And this
yes,
is a song that spent 20 weeks, including 1 week at #1 on the US R&B single charts and #4 on the pop charts. What was
yes.
that like for you when you found out that, especially when you had the hit single Do What I Gotta Do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When I was about actually when I what happened when sensitivity started having this, I think I had this sigh of relief that came over me first. It was like, okay, wow, finally it's working. I was thanking Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis every time I had a
Hmm.
chance coming up with that one. Um, and all the other guys that came out the gate. And most people assumed because I was the lead singer, singing most of the voice for the songs that New Edition put out, that
Right.
I would be the one to venture out into solo as a solo artist before anybody. And I ended up being the very last.
What?
And
Yeah.
and being the very last coming behind multi-platinum records, all these guys was hitting hard. The Bell Biv DeVoe, Poison, Do Me, and
Hmm.
back as they had Johnny was rubbing them the right way. My was just
Right.
killing us. Bobby Brown just I don't know some 12, 13 million records across the
Hmm.
world with Prerogative, Don't Be Cruise, Tenderonis, and all these hit records. And I'm just watching these guys winning, and it just made me kind of like I just don't want to be the only one to come out and can live up to all of that, or I'll be the only one that failed. I had that feeling going on coming
Wow.
into it. But
Yeah.
working with the people I worked with, um, I just felt like I was working with the right guys. I was in the studio with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis,
Hmm.
Babyface, L.A., and his team, Darryl and K.O., Wookie Stewart. I had a bunch of people who were doing hit records at the time and knew it, and they were great at what they're doing. They were geniuses. So I figured I, I couldn't go wrong. It would be okay. But that push, the right team and
Yeah.
management behind it and all that stuff to make sure, it's a lot of things that come together to make that hit record where people can actually hear it. Fortunately, New Edition had all eyes on them at the time. We had the business in terms of what are you going to do next on lock. So
Right.
it wasn't hard to get it played. It wasn't hard to get it heard. It wasn't hard to be moved around where
Mm-hmm.
this was checking for, okay, what are you going to do, Ralph? You know, so I had the outlets ready. I just had to have the right records. And when Sensitivity dropped, and it was the fastest rising song on the charts, and Sexual Healing by Marvin Gaye, and I'm hearing
Wow.
all these coming back, I'm going, I just had that thought. It was like, all right, we okay.
Exactly. So the timing was just good when all of that was taking place. And you could breathe a sigh of relief, right?
Yes, exactly. I needed that one, man. I needed that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's definitely in the history books.
Mhm.
When we also focus on your vocals, not only was there your solo work, but you were on a lot of soundtracks to a
Mhm.
lot of big films back in the day. I remember Mo Money, Money
Oh, yeah.
Can't Buy You Love, The
Money.
Preacher's Wife, Somebody Bigger Than You and I, even making a cameo in the urban comedy House Party 2. What was that like being in a movie with Kid and Play?
That was hilarious. Those are good friends of mine, especially Play. Play is
Yeah.
I've done plays with Play. We've actually moved around. That's a good friend of mine. So
Wow.
just it being a hope that not just being in the movie, because we were in Crunch Groove and a couple things like that as New
Yeah.
Edition, but we started moving as a solo artist. Our record company at the time, MCA, had this. They was the soundtrack. They had the soundtrack for that movie,
Yeah.
and so Yo Baby Yo came to me through the Tony brought it to me. Raphael, it's another
Yeah.
friend of mine. He brought that song to me. They produced this, and then we got something for you. And I heard that, I was like, wow, this is gonna be fun. And the movie was about a pajama party. You got to wear pajamas on the big screen and all that stuff. I
Uh-huh.
felt all of the energy of that at the time was right up my alley, being unorthodox and just not coming out there trying to be Mr. Suave and have some role on the screen where you playing this ultra cool or ultra bad fighter or something. It was like a whole nother
Right.
element, but still allowing me to be in my element as an entertainer. So the thing was when I was in this, I watched that movie for the first time in the theater. And I
Okay.
snuck in the theater. Yeah, I snuck in the theater. Nobody knew I was in there. And I'm watching the movie. And when I came on the screen, you could hear all these ladies in the bed. Oh my God! And I was like, "Oh, we doing it, baby."
Yeah. So
I
you
said,
know that once that happened, you were in there. You were solidified, so to
I'm like,
speak.
we're in.
Absolutely. And let me just share with you, Ralph, a lot of our IG and QMG family are saying that every time they watch House Party 2, they rewind to your part. They want to see you.
I appreciate that, man. That's love. I love that.
Absolutely.
That was a good look. And I was using BBD's dancers who were up there doing a whole bunch of scenes. And I
Right.
was like, dancers, I don't want to be up here just like naked. So they put together a quick routine and I learned it with them right there on the spot. Straight ahead, jumped up there and looked out for me, man. So that's how that came about. It was real organic, the whole feel and the flow of recording of shooting the movie and shooting my
Right.
scene, more organic that it was natural. I had no real idea what I was going to do when I got there. I just had my pajamas. I brought my baby on board pajamas, my baby
Right.
with pajamas, and I said, "This is it. Let's go up and see what's going on." And I ended up working with them on there, which ended up being, that was fun because they was the baddest dancers around at that time, man. So having them up there with me felt good, and just when I look
Right.
back saw it on the big screen,
Hmm.
we're arriving. We're doing this, man. We're really a part of this entertainment industry. I felt good.
Oh, absolutely. And if we fast forward to now, is there anybody in the movie industry that you would like to work with if you're given the opportunity?
There's so many, That's
Yeah.
a lane I always felt like I should have paid more attention to.
Right.
Um, but I don't have any one person that I would want to
Hmm.
work with. It's
Oh,
just
wow.
this.
But that's good.
Yeah, I just feel like the opportunity arose and it was something that felt right up my alley and something I
Right.
felt really pull off. I'm jumping on it. I'm
Abs-
just a movie buff. I'm a movie buff, and I feel like I could fit in with
Yeah.
any of these producers and directors. I could fit in with them and make it happen.
Oh, absolutely. And who knows, that could be another venture for you. Ralph Tresvant, the director, the producer. I can see it because obviously with you, Ralph, there's just no slowing down. And I think that transitions nicely to talk about the new single, All
Mm-hmm.
Mine, joined by a fellow NE alum in one Johnny Gill.
Hmm. That's my brother. That's my
That
big.
is your brother. Yeah, talk about this new single. Especially, you had a similar partnership just last year with Johnny's album Game Changer
Yeah.
and the 2019 hit Perfect. So you guys really complement each other when it comes to working together outside of New Edition.
Yeah, we learned that when we, during the time when he first came into New Edition, me and Johnny just clicked. It's been
Wow.
a break album that we just see eye to eye. We see the industry the same. We see the way you engage between industry stuff, off stage, at home. Like Johnny's my friend. I know what's going on with his kids. I know what's going on with his brother, his mom. He knows the same
Wow.
thing, So we spend most of our time in our relationship laughing and talking about stuff that just being human, regular
Yeah.
old Johnny and Ralph and things that don't have to do with entertainment and then in between. But when we got into Heartbreak album, the combination of the way that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis merged Johnny into the group and merged
Hmm.
the voice, we knew we had to make it a big part of what we was doing,
Yeah.
And his voice and his talent is so strong and so vocal. Just it's there's not too many vocalists out there that can mess with Johnny, And
Yeah.
so you knew he was gonna have to eventually start. How do we integrate this into the group? Integrate it into the group in a way where the people who've been watching New Edition and following us up to this point don't
Right.
feel like, okay, what is that? What just happened? Where's
Yeah.
that voice? So Jimmy Jam and them made it a point to merge it into the right records at the right time. And when you
Hmm.
hear Can You Stand the Rain, I would be in the studio and Johnny would hear me and he would sit in the studio and he would listen to me do my thing, lay my parts down, background part, the way I would layer, and he just was like, it just was like a machine. And it
Yeah.
became all how my work ethics and what I was able to pull off as an artist. So he didn't really know all of the stuff going into it. And then when it came time for him to do stuff, I'd be sitting on the other side on the board with Jimmy and Terry, like, my God, what we got like a real
Yeah.
vocalist, like a real performer, a real artist in here with us right now. And I've always felt that since I heard him with Stacey Lattice song and some of his own stuff that he was releasing as an artist. But when I heard him in the studio, my jaws just dropped because Johnny was doing stuff in one take. A lot of the stuff,
Wow.
a lot of stuff on the Heartbreak album and his feature parts was in one take. He would say, "Okay, we got that. Let's go on to the next thing." And I was listening to it. I was like, "You're not gonna do that again." But
Hmm.
then I knew you don't need to do it again. I feel that way, but I would do it, or I'd be in there doing stuff until I felt like I had that perfect take. And sometimes you got to do that. Johnny just seems all of his takes just seemed like they were perfect. So listen to how they merged us, and they used what I consider my smooth and
Right.
Smokey Robinson slash Marvin Gaye, Michael type of voice and vocals with his Johnny Gill, Teddy Pendergrass slash, Luther Vandross. He had this big thing going on. When we heard how they merged that,
Right.
we just thought it was magic. And it reminded me the other day we was on the phone. Me and Johnny did an interview together with Pop Levert, Eddie Levert. And it hit me for the first time that's what Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis did. They
Hmm.
merged me and Pop. They merged me and Johnny the way that Pop, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The one that sang, "Ooh, you're my darling, darling baby." When they heard, and then Pop would come in after that. I said, "You're everything,"
Right.
and they merged that.
Yes.
That's what they did with us. We were we were carrying on a tradition that the OJs and artists that were
Absolutely.
the OJs was doing, and that's how they played our voices off of each other the same way. And
Hmm.
so we learned way back then in '88 during that album that when you merge these styles together the right way, it brings these worlds together, um, musically, fan wise, people that would normally not be my fans. A lot of my fans are more into the smooth and that type of stuff, and
Right.
Michael Jackson type voices, and not really more into the Teddy and what Johnny does, and vice versa. So when you merge them on this one song, both these worlds come together in a way where they can appreciate and love and feel the energy of the song. And we learned that back then, and been trying to duplicate it ever since. So when the time came when he was doing Perfect. Perfect was actually a song initially Johnny had introduced. Was kind of that was going to be me, Johnny, Charlie Wilson, and Keith Sweat. And that's
Wow.
literally was supposed to be on that song initially. But all I don't know, remember what just happened, the timing and stuff on when he had to release it, and
Mhm.
when everybody could get in the studio to do the song didn't work out. And
Yeah.
so Johnny ended up doing all of the parts that Charlie was going to do, and I did my parts and some of the stuff Keith was going to do, and
Wow.
that's how it ended up being a duet. We figured we could pull it off. We didn't, something that we've merged our voices before, and we knew we could do it. So with the success of that, and I'm rambling on, but I had to tell you that backstory.
No, no,
But
no. I love it. Love it.
to the success of Perfect, um, while we felt like while the energy's out there and people are feeling that, um, mine came to the table again as a song that was submitted for Johnny. The producer sent that to Johnny to do on his project or for a future project or whatever, and he heard it and said, "This sounds like Ralph. This sounds like my brother." So he called me up, said, "Man, I want you to hear something." I heard the song, I loved it, put my voice on it, and then a few days later or so, he sent it back with him on it. And I said, "There it goes." So we heard the reverse of what Perfect was doing when it was him as a lead and featuring me on the
Right.
hook and some of the other miscellaneous parts, and we flipped it. What he did was he ended up now so we flipped it where I was the lead and he was the feature on it. And so let's keep that going. While this is working, let's put this out and see what it just felt like a good introduction to my project, a way to get out there and have everybody the energy of it be one of those energies that everybody could feel and just propel the release of me coming back on the scene as a solo artist in a way that um, couldn't have predicted it. It's like, okay, this
Right.
just seems to work. Let's keep that going while the energy's out there. And lo and behold, all man's out there doing his thing. So,
Absolutely. And Ralph, this just makes me think of when you have the right ingredients and you mix them together and
mhm.
you just get this result that is just unbelievable. It's almost as if Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis knew back then when you guys were a part of New Edition and even when you became solo artists and you had a chance to work with Johnny on his album. Now he's working with you on yours. It was just the perfect blend. They knew that they had the right ingredients in you guys and putting you together. And the bonus is we get to hear those ingredients kind of come to life. We get to taste the music, literally and figuratively. And you've just been doing it for such a wonderful time. Now, is the single out?
Singles out on all platforms, the videos out there, almost at 2 million streams. It's just
Wonderful.
more. It's doing excellent right now. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, I just wish you continued success with you as a solo artist and others that you have the opportunity to work with. I like how you sum it up. All mine to me for you. Why do you say it's a statement record? Because you also mentioned it's grown folks music. And I love the fact that that's what a lot of us are now. We grown folks,
Can't
We
hide
grew
that.
up with you.
Can't hide the fact that we're growing, we're getting older, and I'm not trying to chase the past or chase trying to do what the youngsters are doing now. Let them have
Yeah.
that lane.
Yeah.
That my thing was there's a lot of people out there, especially at radio and programming, that just didn't understand. Sometimes they don't get that you don't have to do the new young thing to win.
Right.
My thing
Mhm.
was even the topics that are being sung about by some of the youngsters, they're leaving the love out of it, and it was a
Yeah.
statement record that when you when you do it correctly and you have the right records and the right song, love never goes out of style. Everybody wants to be loved, feel love, and be a part of the energy of love at the end of the day. Whether
Absolutely.
you live it or not, it's almost like it's not cool to wear that on your sleeve these days. And I
Yeah.
wanted to make a statement that that's still okay to do. I'm wearing it on my sleeve until the END. That's why I call it a statement record. I want to make it a statement that love never gets old. It's
Oh,
always.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. See, this is why you are a legend, sir. And I just wanted to share, this is what Blonde Diva 87 had to say. Have been loving Ralph since I first saw them open for the Jacksons in 1979.
Wow. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. I appreciate that. Love.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Rob, I could talk to you all day, and I'm definitely loving the scenery behind you. I need to be where you are. Right about. Look at that. Thank you for sharing that. That is gorgeous. That is absolutely beautiful. You do look like you're in the absolute most relaxed atmosphere that a person can be, because it really just helps you kind of take your mind off all the craziness that's going on in the world right about now. Sometimes you just have to just kind of just sit back and just let things go, and just enjoy the things that are around you.
You're absolutely right. Coming from the projects, going through all of what I've known I had to go through, and to get where I'm at, it's like sometimes just to sit here and let all that run through your brain,
Yeah.
it allows you to feel, yeah, because you can sit out here all day. I was talking to my man Steve Russell from Truth, and we talk about how us artists, we're always trying to chase what's in front of us, the artist that's doing it bigger than us in front of us. You know what I mean? And when
Right.
you do that, you lose the blessing of being able to feel what you're doing, what you've done,
Hmm.
accomplishments that
Exactly.
you need. And it's important. It's important for you to really be able to reflect on what you've done, see where you stand, look at the
Hmm.
lessons of what you've accomplished and achieved. And if you're always trying to, well, I got to get there one day like Michael Jackson. I got to get there one day like Prince. And well, you got all these people in front of you that's just done it at such a high level that
Right.
most people never reach. But that's what we're all trying to obtain one day.
Hmm.
You miss out on the right now, or the looking back and seeing how
Yeah.
far you've come and being able to
Absolutely.
appreciate that and enjoy that. So for me, I come out here and I reflect on what I've already achieved, what I've already done.
Hmm. Hmm.
And tell God that all the time. If you never bless me with another thing, God, thank you for what you've already done for me. You know?
Absolutely. But something tells me this is nowhere near the end for you, sir. That you take the gift that you've been given and you have used it to the full, and you look forward to, like you said, any other additional blessing that will come your way. You want to continue to do, and it's obvious you love what you do, because sometimes when we've done the same thing, it's easy to become complacent. It's
Yeah.
easy to become stagnant. But I love the fact that you continue to want to grow, to want to, and the beautiful thing is you're welcoming new generations of fans. For folk that, all of us that are in that generation that grew up with you, think about their kids. And then when they start having kids and listen to all the classics from Ralph Tresvant, whether as a part of New Edition or as a solo artist, you just leave such a lasting, and speaking of, here's another L word, I'm using the word legacy. If
Yeah.
anything, what do you think? What would be Ralph Tresvant's legacy? What would you want people to remember most about you?
And it's so difficult, It's I think throughout the years that's changed over and over again. It
Yeah.
changes as you get through the legacy that you want to really leave behind. I think I'm gonna go back to my L word. It's love, man. You
Yeah.
know, that Ralph represented love, hard body, he cares. He it wasn't about a selfish thing, and that I continue to give back the energy that was given to me from the
Yeah.
artists that came before me. The things that I felt artists giving me, and the things I felt from listening to their records and mimicking a lot of them and adding that to my repertoire of things that I was going to do one day eventually. Um, that I've been able to round all that up and leave it to someone else, inspire others to be able to do the same thing that I was inspired to do.
That's wonderful. And I like that L word. It's so fitting for you, Ralph Tresvant. I wish you all the best, continued success. Just keep doing what you're doing. Now, I do have one last request, if I can get in before I let you go.
What's that?
If you can give a shout out to a dear friend of mine, he's like a brother to me, very
Uh-huh.
close to he and his wife. And interestingly enough, he saw me not too long ago at a Walmart and walked up to me, and he heard it before I did. He heard that I was scheduled to do this interview with you, and he shared with me that he is the biggest New Edition fan. Now, I've even done karaoke with him, And he's got a smooth voice. Now, not as smooth as yours, though, Ralph. But the brother's a good singer. His name is Clinton Morgan. If you can just give a shout out to Clinton. I don't know if he's going to see this, but I'm sure it'll get back to him through mutual friends of ours.
Absolutely. Clinton Morgan from your man Ralph Tresvant. Big shout out and a big Ubuntu I am, because we are, my brother. Mad love to you, and thank you for all the love that you shared for myself and me and my boys New Edition, man.
And thank you for the love. Ralph Tresvant, this was just a wonderful conversation. Thank you for just letting us get to know you. A lot of it, some of it we already knew, others were just probably learning about for the first time. But just thank you, brother, for everything that you do. And again, as I mentioned, continued success.
Thank you for having me, and I'm
Absolutely.
right here. We'll do it again. All my Riz Riders, I see y'all down there, man. I can't mention everybody, but love y'all.
Right.
And I see Flight Time Jam is over there. Jimmy Jam. That's what's up, man.
Wonderful. You take care of yourself and you stay safe, okay?
You stay safe too, man. I love you.
Thank you. Love you more. Take care. All righty. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you so much, radio family. That was really great. Good dude, Ralph Tresvant. Again, check out the new single, All Mine, with him and Johnny Gill. So, you know, from me, no goodbyes. Just until next time, everybody take care.